Did you know nearly 1 in 4 engine failures are caused by oil changes gone wrong? Yep, something as routine as changing your oil can end up silently wrecking your engine. And it's not just about skipping the service. Over half of drivers make one or more critical mistakes during oil changes and they don't even know it. So, the big question is, are you unknowingly damaging your engine every time you change your oil? Stick with us, because in this video we're breaking down the 10 most common and costly oil change mistakes, and how to avoid them like a pro. At the end, we'll share a bonus mechanics tip as well that most shops won't tell you, but it could add years to your engine's life. So, let's start with one of the sneakiest mistakes that can cost you your engine without any warning. Mistake number 1, leaving the old gasket behind. Here's a question. What happens if you accidentally install 2 oil filter gaskets? The answer, you're setting yourself up for a massive oil leak and possibly catastrophic engine damage. This mistake actually happens more than you might think. When you remove the old filter, the rubber O-ring gasket doesn't always come off with it. If the old gasket sticks to the engine block and you screw on a new filter with the new gasket, well, now you have 2 stacked gaskets. Once that engine heats up, the pressure's gonna build and bam! Oil sprays out everywhere. But the worst part, you might not even notice it until your oil light comes on or your engine seizes up. The fix? Always double check the filter mount. Make sure that the old gasket came off before installing the new filter. It takes you 10 seconds, but it could save you thousands of dollars in engine repairs. Mistake number 2, forgetting to remove the oil filler cap. Here's a quick test. Before draining your oil, do you pop the filler cap open? If not, well, you might be leaving old, dirty oil behind in your engine. Why, you may ask? Well, because leaving the oil filler cap on during draining creates a vacuum effect, slowing the flow and trapping some oil inside. That means that your fresh oil is now mixing with old, contaminated oil. Kinda like pouring clean water into a dirty bucket. This is one of those tiny habits that makes a big difference. But what should you do? Well, before you even touch the drain plug, open up that filler cap. It lets air in and allows the old oil to flow out completely and cleanly. Trust me, you'll thank yourself later when your oil stays cleaner longer. Mistake number 3, draining cold oil. Quick question, is it okay to drain oil when your engine's cold? Technically, yes, but it's not the best idea. Cold oil is thick and sluggish. It clings to surfaces and doesn't drain completely. That means when you change it cold, you're leaving behind sludge and contaminants that should have been flushed out. Think of it like trying to pour honey out of the fridge. Pro tip, let your engine run for like 3 to 5 minutes before you start your oil change. You don't need it hot, just warm enough to thin out the oil a little bit so it flows freely. You'll get more out and your new oil will stay cleaner longer. Mistake number 4, overfilling the oil. Now let us ask you this, if a little oil is good, is more even better? Absolutely not. In fact, overfilling your engine oil is one of the fastest ways to cause major damage. When there's too much oil in your engine, the crankshaft starts whipping it up into foam, just like a blender. This leads to aeration or air bubbles in the oil, which destroys its ability to lubricate properly. And the result? Increased pressure, oil leaks, blown seals, and, in worst case scenarios, engine failure. So what's the fix? Always add oil slowly and in stages. Check the dipstick frequently and aim for that sweet spot between the low and the full mark. And remember, your dipstick is more trustworthy than your eyeballs. Never guess. Mistake number 5, skipping the final oil check after starting the engine. Okay, so you've drained the oil, you've swapped out the filter, and you've poured in your new oil. You're done, right? Well, not quite. Here is what many DIYers miss. Once you start the engine, the oil then circulates and fills the new filter, which can drop your oil level. So if you skip your final check, you could be running low on oil without even realizing it. But the solution? After starting the engine, just let it run for 30 to 60 seconds, shut it back off, wait a few minutes, then come back and check the oil dipstick again and top off if necessary. Also, while you're at it, be sure to look under the car for leaks, especially near the drain plug in the new filter you just installed. It's better to catch a problem now than on the freeway later. Mistake number 6, skipping or delaying the oil change interval. Now here's a question that might make you rethink your maintenance habits. When was your last oil change? And are you waiting for the dashboard reminder? One of the costliest mistakes that people can make is pushing their oil change way past the recommended interval, especially in harsh driving conditions. If you do lots of short trips, you're constantly in stop-and-go traffic, you're towing, or just live in extreme temperatures, your oil wears out a lot faster. And when old oil breaks down, it turns into sludge. It loses its protective qualities and it accelerates engine wear. In fact, the AAA estimates that regular oil changes can extend engine life by up to 50%. The solution? Know your car. If your manual says every 7,500 miles, but you're stuck in city traffic every day, maybe change it closer to 5,000 miles, especially if you're using conventional oil. Set a reminder or log it in your phone. Engines, they don't fail overnight. They fail gradually over time when small maintenance habits like this get ignored. Mistake number 7. Not pre-filling the new oil filter. Here's a question for you. Would you start a marathon without warming up first? Well, that's exactly what your engine does when you install a dry oil filter. Most oil filters can hold up to half a quart or more of oil. If you install it empty, your engine experiences a dry start, meaning it runs for a few critical seconds without proper oil pressure. That is when metal grinds against metal, accelerating wear on internal components. But the solution is simple. Simply pre-fill the new filter with clean oil before you screw it on. You don't have to fill it up to the brim, just enough to give it a head start. This is especially important for larger engines or vertical filter mounts. It's a tiny step with a huge benefit for engine longevity. Mistake number 8. Forgetting to lubricate the oil filter O-ring. Now, let me guess. You've twisted on a new oil filter and you've called it a day, right? Well, here is what many people miss. The O-ring on that filter, it needs lubrication. Why? Because a dry O-ring can bind or pinch when you tighten the filter, which can lead to poor sealing, oil leaks, and even a filter that welds itself in place. Yeah, good luck getting that thing off next time. Before installing, take your finger, dip it in fresh oil, and lightly coat the rubber O-ring. This helps to create a smooth, leak-proof seal and makes removal easier during your next oil change. It's a 5-second job that could save you hours of frustration later. Mistake number 9. Over-tightening the drain plug. Question time. What's worse than an oil leak? Answer: a stripped oil pan that costs $1,000 or more to replace. Too many people believe tight equals safe. But when it comes to your drain plug, over-tightening can actually strip the threads in your oil pan or even crack the pan itself, especially if it's made from aluminum. The correct method: tightening until it is snug. Or if you're using a torque wrench, follow the spec in your owner's manual. It's usually never more than 20 to 30 foot-pounds. Just never force it. If it feels wrong, stop and double check. Trust me, replacing a washer is much cheaper than replacing a cracked oil pan or tapping new threads. Mistake number 10. Over-tightening the oil filter. Here's a common scenario. You're finishing up your oil change, you grab your new filter, you twist it on, and you just keep twisting. But wait! Did you just over-tighten it? Tightening your oil filter too much can crush the O-ring, causing leaks and making it a nightmare to remove during your next oil change. Even worse, you might actually warp the filter, causing internal failure. So, what's the right move? Hand tighten the oil filter until it is snug. Then give it about 3/4 of a turn more. No tools, no muscle, just snug and secure. It's a very simple rule that can save you hours later. Bonus tip: use a magnetic drain plug. Now, here's a secret that mechanics don't always tell you. Install a magnetic oil drain plug. Why? Because even with high quality oil and filters, tiny metal particles can still circulate through your engine. Over time, they'll act like sandpaper inside of your motor. And a magnetic drain plug, well, it catches and holds all these particles, preventing them from recirculating and wearing out your engine. For under $15, it's one of the best upgrades you can make during your next oil change. And there you have it. 10 oil change mistakes that could ruin your engine, plus a bonus tip that could save you thousands in the long run. Which of these were you guilty of before today? Be sure to let us know down in the comment section below. And don't forget, taking just a few extra minutes during your oil change can add years to your engine's life. Be sure to like the video if it helped you out, subscribe for more smart car care tips, and ring that bell so you never miss another maintenance hack. Drive smart, wrench smarter, and we'll see you in the next one.